there, welcome. It's great to see you and thank you for joining me. Today I am going to share some knowledge on how to thin out seedlings and why it's a good thing to do. So let's jump in. Here we are at the 3-week mark, and you can see that we have really juicy, well-defined rows of green seedlings. They're at the point now, though, where they're going to start to really compete for light and nutrients and water. So what we're going to do is help Mother Nature along a little bit and thin out the weak ones to help the strong ones grow. First hot tip for you here is use scissors to cut out these seedlings rather than pulling them out or pinching them. Why? Because if you use scissors, you're going to remove the competing plant effectively, but you're not going to pull the roots out, which can risk disturbing the roots of the neighboring plant that we want to keep in the ground. I'm sure you're asking, how far apart should I actually snip these seedlings? In other words, how many should I remove and how far apart should the ones be that I'm keeping? So once again, we've got our handy dandy seed packet, and it will tell you on the back basically what the seedling is going to want in order to truly thrive. In this case, it says, for salad mixes, sow densely and cut as baby leaves. For full-size plants, thin to 6 to 12 inches apart in rows. Now, not all plants are like this, but there's an interesting point about this particular plant. You can actually control its growth and the resulting leaf by how far apart you space it. Why? Because a plant that is just one singular or maybe 3 will grow quite large, whereas if you keep them in a tighter row, it naturally inhibits their growth. So you're tinkering with nature, but in a very interesting way. And you can see I'm stem hunting at this point. I'm going in and I'm looking for the stems, and if they're smaller than the biggest one next to it, just give that a snip and thin it out. I'm really just thinning. Now, if you're really not sure where to start, or you hit a particularly dense cluster of seedlings, sometimes process of elimination is a great way to start. So get in there and look at the smaller ones and just snip those out, and keep your eye on the bigger ones. There's a really nice big one right there. So I'm going to start to take out all the smaller ones around it, and then the biggest, best one just kind of emerges from there. And again, just to point out that as I'm thinning, I'm looking for the ones that have the best color, that have the most amount of leaves, that have the biggest amount of leaves. There's a big guy. And again, the reason for that is if these stronger seeds are that quick jumping out of the gate, then the odds are much greater that they're going to grow into really big, healthy plants, which is, of course, exactly what we want. Look at that. That guy is even bigger, although the leaves are not as big. So that guy's going. There you go. It's natural selection process with a helping hand. So let's check in on our spacing just for fun. So this is Renegade spinach, and it says thin plants to at least 5 to 8 centimeters, here we are in Canada, or 2 to 3 inches for you Americans apart. So that's actually a pretty short distance between each other. So let's aim for that. You can see that guy is, I'm going to say, slightly smaller than its neighbor, so that one's going to go. Just gently pull that out of the row, trying not to disturb its more precious neighbor. Do do try your best to be as gentle as you possibly can as you're going through and thinning, because we definitely do not want to damage the strongest ones that are left, especially since we've now thinned out basically all of our other options. So just very gently kind of pry things apart, make your decision, and make your snip. So I'm going to keep this guy's got to go. Look, I've already got a beautiful little baby spinach leaf, 3 weeks old, and that's full of nutrients and deliciousness for my table, and I never had to go to the grocery store or pay 1 red cent for it. Fantastic. One pretty cool bonus of thinning, even at 3 weeks, is I'm gonna take the clippings and add that to my salad tonight. So here we go. Here's the finished rows. This is the Swiss chard, and on the other side of the arugula here is the spinach. Things feel much better spaced, and each plant has a little bit more breathing room between the other plant. We may want to go in later and do a little bit more thinning, but for now, I think that's neatened things up considerably. Okay, so as per the seed packet's direction, we are going to go in and thin these guys out between 1 to 2 inches apart. What is interesting is that you have this flexibility with Mother Nature, and you can, to a small degree, shift or change the outcome of the size of the carrot by its spacing. So if you want smaller carrots, put them closer together. If you want bigger carrots, put them farther apart. But for now, I think we're just going to get in here and thin this out and see what it looks like and go from there. Here's a hot tip for you. When you are snipping out your seedlings that you don't want, make sure to remove them from the row. Don't just let them fall, because as they decay, they can promote an environment that might create fungus or cause disease to the seedlings. So when you remove them, you reduce the risk of that happening. So here we are, 5 rows of carrots, beautifully thinned out. Everything looking spaced between 1 to 2 inches apart, maybe on the tighter side, more like 1 inches apart. But we can also just monitor it, see how it's growing, and then do a little tidy up thinner down the line if needed. It's definitely time to give these plants a little bit of a boost, a little bit of help, and a shake and feed fertilizer is perfect for that. So just as it sounds, I'm going to give things a little bit of a shake. Careful not to put it directly on top of the plant, because you don't want to run the risk of burning any tender bits. But as you can see, I'm just giving this a general shake, and it'll find its way to the roots. And this is really going to help add nutrients to the soil that the plant needs and help it grow big and strong. Shout out to Miracle Grow for a very easy, quick fertilizing solution. Here's a hot tip. You can see I'm using the cap of the shake and feed, and I'm using that as a type of measure. So according to the instructions, I'm supposed to use per approximately 10 square feet between half a cup and a quarter cup. So this to me is somewhere in the middle of a half a cup to a quarter cup, but it's also just really easy for me to see how much is going on and to sprinkle it easily throughout the soil. And once again, following the instructions is very helpful and handy. As you can see, I'm sprinkling this on dry soil as instructed, and then I'm going to water this through so it can make contact with the soil and penetrate through easily when it's wet. Make sure to give those seedlings a really good soaking after you've applied the shake and feed, just to really work those nutrients right into the soil. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great to share my tips and tricks with you. If you're appreciating what I'm sharing, please like and subscribe so I can continue to share the goodness. Stay tuned for more updates, and until the next post, happy growing.